He scoreboard buzzed. 72-71. Only 4 seconds left. Kayla Tran's palms dripped with sweat as she crouched low on the hardwood. Her eyes locked on the girl across from her. The crowd at the National Girls High School Basketball Championship roared, drowning out the coach's voice. The stadium lights glared down on her like interrogation beams. The inbounds pass came in fast. Kayla stole it. 2 steps. 1 dribble. Then she was sprinting across the court. Her feet thudded like a metronome counting down a moment that had taken years to arrive. She jumped. The buzzer screamed. The ball arced high, sailing through the tension that wrapped around the arena. Swish. Silence. Then, an eruption of noise. She stood there, arms still raised, breathing ragged, as her teammates swarmed her. On the other side of the court, Coach Darren Whitaker of Jefferson High, her former coach, stood frozen. Eyes wide. He didn't even try to hide his disbelief. Or the guilt. Kayla didn't look at him. Not yet. Jefferson High School, 1 year earlier. The Jefferson High School gymnasium buzzed with noise, sneakers screeched on polished wood. Basketballs thumped against backboards, and sharp whistles pierced the air every few minutes. The bleachers were half filled with parents and younger siblings watching anxiously as nearly 30 girls went through varsity tryouts. Kayla Tran stood at the far end of the court, bouncing nervously on the balls of her feet. Her ponytail, pulled tight to keep the hair from her face, twitched slightly as she glanced around. Everyone seemed taller, louder, bulkier. She knew she wasn't the most physically imposing girl there, at 5'3". She was one of the shortest on the court, but that had never stopped her before. She'd been preparing for this day for 2 years. Morning runs before school, shooting drills in the driveway until the neighbors complained. Private workouts every weekend. Her mother had even taken an extra shift just to buy her a pair of used Kyrie Irving shoes. The bottoms were slightly worn, but Kayla felt faster in them, like she could cut through defenders if she just got the chance. Coach Darren Whitaker blew the whistle again. He was tall, bald, with a commanding presence and a clipboard that seemed permanently glued to his left hand. A few years ago, he'd led Jefferson High to a state championship. His word was law in the gym. All right, pair up for defensive drills. He barked. Kayla moved quickly, partnering with a senior named Brianna, the team's returning captain. Brianna smiled politely, but it was clear she wasn't interested in making friends. Kayla didn't care. She wanted to make the team. They rotated through slides, closeouts, and box-outs. Kayla hustled on every drill. Her footwork was tight, her anticipation sharp, and when they moved to 3-on-3 scrimmages, she hit a pair of baseline jumpers that had even a few parents nodding. But Coach Whitaker didn't seem to notice. He spent most of the time talking to the taller girls, pointing out footwork corrections, nodding at post moves. Kayla caught his eye once after a steal and fast break finish, but he immediately looked down and scribbled something on his clipboard. After 2 grueling hours, Coach gathered everyone in a huddle. "Thanks, ladies. I'll be posting the results outside the gym tomorrow at 3 p.m. sharp. Don't be late." Kayla jogged to the bench, her limbs heavy, her chest rising and falling in steady gasps. She felt good, not perfect, but strong, stronger than she'd ever felt. As she walked outside to meet her mom, her chest tightened, not from fatigue, from hope. The next day, the hallway outside the gym was crowded with girls whispering, leaning in, reading the printed list taped to the wall. Kayla edged forward slowly. Her heart pounded against her ribcage. She read each name twice. No, Kayla Tran. She blinked, looked again. No, Tran. No, Kayla. Just gone. Some of the girls near her gasped with joy. One was crying. A few hugged. She stood still, the rest of the world going silent around her. Then she heard it, Coach Whitaker's voice. Low but audible, speaking to his assistant behind her. "Yeah, she's quick, but let's be honest, she won't be able to handle contact at varsity level. Too small, not varsity material." Kayla felt like someone had kicked her stomach. She stepped back slowly and turned to leave before they noticed her. Outside, her mother's old Honda sat parked under a tree. Her mom leaned on the steering wheel, a thermos of jasmine tea resting in the cup holder. Kayla opened the door and sat silently. "Well?" her mom asked softly, eyes hopeful. Kayla swallowed the lump in her throat. "Didn't make it." Her mom looked straight ahead. Didn't flinch. Didn't ask why. "I see," she said, gripping the wheel a little tighter. Let's go home. They drove in silence, the city outside their windows buzzing with life, yellow buses, flashing stop signs, dog walkers, kids playing on sidewalks, but Kayla felt none of it. At home, she walked into her room, closed the door, and sat on the floor with her knees pulled to her chest. Her phone buzzed. It was a text from Mia, one of the other freshmen. So sorry, Kay. You were amazing out there. I don't get it. Kayla didn't reply. Instead, she scrolled through the photos on her phone, snapshots of her in action at middle school games. A clip of her making 4 threes in a row. A selfie with her mom holding a sign that said, "Number 1 point guard." She turned the screen off and stared at the ceiling. That night, her mother knocked gently before coming in. Kayla didn't say anything. Her mother sat beside her and placed a cup of tea next to her hand. You know, Lynn began, speaking in gentle Vietnamese. They told me I couldn't become a nurse. My English was too slow. My accent too strong. I almost believed them. Kayla stared blankly. But then someone else gave me a chance. And now, I'm helping people every day. Kayla didn't respond. Lynn stood and moved to the door. Before leaving, she said, "Sometimes, they don't see you because they're not looking. You just need to find someone who is." The door clicked shut. Kayla exhaled slowly. And for the first time that night, she opened her laptop and searched. Basketball teams near me, girls. 2 weeks after the Jefferson cut. The Liberty Community Center was an aging brick building tucked between an auto shop and a laundromat. The front sign was faded, the glass on the doors slightly foggy with age, and one of the overhead lights flickered with a faint buzz. It didn't look like the kind of place where dreams were made. Kayla stepped through the entrance with her gym bag slung over one shoulder. The front desk lady barely looked up from her crossword puzzle as she pointed down the hall. "Basketballs in Court B end of the hallway. Take a left." She followed the echo of bouncing balls until she reached the doorway. What she saw didn't look like much. No bleachers. No banners. Just a waxed floor with faded paint lines. A couple of rusted hoops. And a dozen girls doing passing drills with a level of intensity that didn't match the rundown gym. On the far side stood a woman with a whistle around her neck and a clipboard balanced on her arm. She looked to be in her late 30s. Dressed in black joggers and a red hoodie with the words, "Liberty Hawks, AU Basketball," across the front. Her stance was athletic, her eyes sharp. "Coach Lin Huang." Kayla approached hesitantly, unsure if she was even in the right place. Before she could speak, Coach Lin noticed her. "Name?" she asked without looking away from the court. "Kayla. Kayla Tran," she replied quickly. Coach Lin scribbled something. "How old?" 15. "Experience?" "Point guard. I was starting in middle school. Almost made varsity at Jefferson." Now Lin looked at her, noticing her height, her lean frame. "Almost?" she asked, one eyebrow raised. Kayla stiffened. "Didn't make the cut." Coach Lin nodded. "Go change. We'll see what you've got." 10 minutes later, Kayla stepped onto the court wearing her gray practice shorts and the old pair of Kiris. Her nerves were fighting to crawl up her throat, but she shoved them down. The Hawks were already mid-practice. Girls of varying heights and builds moved with speed and purpose. Kayla joined the back of a line for a 3-on-2 transition drill. When her turn came, she sprinted up court, anticipating the pass, cut between 2 defenders, and laid the ball in clean off the glass. Coach Lin blew the whistle. Again, Kayla ran again. This time she intercepted a pass, spun through traffic, and fed a bounce pass to a taller girl for the finish. By the third round, the other players were starting to look at her differently, with recognition. "She's quick," one of them whispered. "She's got handles," another said. Coach Lin stopped the drill. "All right," she said loudly. "Let's scrimmage. Kayla, you run point on red team." Kayla took the ball, heartbeat pounding. The whistle blew. She started slow, testing the defenders, then exploded with a crossover, slicing into the lane. When a defender collapsed on her, she kicked it out to the wing for an open 3. Swish. A few plays later, she pulled up from beyond the arc and nailed a shot off the dribble. By the end of the scrimmage, she'd scored 8 points, dished 5 assists, and hadn't turned the ball over once. Coach Lin blew the final whistle. "Water break, then we talk." 15 minutes later, Kayla sat on the bleachers at the edge of the gym, sipping from her bottle and toweling off her face. Coach Lin walked over and sat beside her. "You're raw," she said, "but smart. You see angles. You don't force shots. You're patient." Kayla looked down at her shoes, unsure what to say. "You don't play like someone who got cut." Kayla smiled faintly. "Guess Coach Whitaker didn't see it that way." Lin snorted. "That guy's been coasting on his state championship for 6 years. He builds teams like he's casting a commercial, tall, loud, shiny. He misses the ones who think first and talk second." Kayla blinked. "So, you're in," Lin said simply. "If you're ready to work. We don't run like the fancy schools. You'll be practicing in parking lots sometimes. Our jerseys don't match. We don't get free shoes." "I don't care about shoes," Kayla said immediately. "I just want to play." Coach Lin smiled for the first time. "Good answer. Practice is 4 days a week. Tournaments every other weekend. Bring your A game." Kayla nodded, her throat tight with emotion. "Thank you." "Don't thank me yet," Lin said, standing up. "Thank me after we hand Jefferson their first loss next season." That night, Kayla lay in bed staring at the ceiling, her muscles aching but her heart light. She thought about that list taped to the gym wall at Jefferson. She thought about Coach Whitaker and his clipboard. And then she thought about the way Coach Lin had said, "You're in," without hesitation. This was a new path. A different court. But it felt right. It felt like the start of something bigger. The first tournament came faster than Kayla expected. It was early April when the Liberty Lady Hawks packed into 3 dusty minivans and drove 3 hours to a small town showcase in Springfield, Ohio. The venue was nothing glamorous, just an old high school gym with faded blue bleachers and vending machines that ate your dollars. But for Kayla, it felt like her first real stage. The girls arrived wearing mismatched warm-ups, some in black, others in gray, a few in plain hoodies. Only the red Liberty Hawks logo stitched onto their shorts unified them. As they warmed up, other teams filtered in, sleek, polished squads with matching bags, travel jackets, and Bluetooth speakers blasting Drake or Megan Thee Stallion. They looked like they'd walked off a college campus. Liberty looked like they'd just walked out of a laundromat. Kayla dribbled in silence, her heartbeat louder than the bounce of the ball. Her nerves made her stomach churn. This wasn't middle school anymore. The gym was louder, the lights brighter, and her opponents? They were built like junior WNBA prospects. "You good?" came a voice beside her. It was Zoe, the team's power forward, 6 feet tall, all muscle and deadpan sarcasm. Kayla nodded, exhaling. "Just nervous." "Good," Zoe said. "Means you care. You'll shake it off." Coach Lin blew her whistle. "Bring it in." The team huddled at center court. "First games against Central Blaze," Coach Lin announced. "They're big, fast, and cocky." "Good. That makes them predictable." "Kayla, your starting point. Run the offense. Push tempo. No fear." Kayla blinked. She hadn't expected to start. She looked around. No one objected. Coach Lin clapped. "Let's punch first." The opening tip went to the Blaze, and within 5 seconds, their center muscled her way in for a layup. Kayla inbounded the ball quickly and sprinted up the court. The Blaze guards met her high, double teaming early. She faked left, spun right, and zipped a pass to Zoe, who finished strong at the rim. 2-2. On the next possession, Kayla read the defense and threaded a no-look pass to the corner. Sasha drained the 3. In just 2 minutes, Kayla had 2 assists and a steal. The nerves melted away with every possession. She wasn't just holding her own, she was leading. But the Blaze didn't back off. Their defense tightened. Their forwards crashed the glass harder. One girl bumped Kayla near mid-court and snarled, "This ain't middle school, little girl." Kayla smiled. She crossed her up the next play and dropped a floater in the lane. By halftime, Liberty led 33-28. In the locker room, Coach Lin was blunt. "They're gonna come out swinging. Expect traps. Expect elbows. Stay poised." Kayla wiped sweat from her brow. Her legs ached. Her lungs burned. But she nodded. The second half was a war. The Blaze turned aggressive, full-court pressure. Hands grabbing jerseys. Hard screens that rattled teeth. Kayla got knocked down twice. One time landing hard on her hip. But she bounced up every time. With under a minute left, the game was tied 57-57. Coach Lin called timeout. "Run crossfade," she ordered. Kayla up top. Zoe screens. Sasha in the corner. They broke the huddle. The gym buzzed with tension. Kayla dribbled past half court. The Blaze guard was up on her. Arms wide, she called for the screen. Crossed over once, used Zoe's pick, and drove hard left. As the defense collapsed, she kicked out to Sasha in the corner. Sasha rose. The shot went up. Swish. Liberty 60-57. The Blaze missed their final attempt. Game over. In the bleachers, a few parents clapped. One man with a college logo polo scribbled notes in a binder. Kayla didn't notice him. She was too busy grinning with her teammates as they high-fived and slapped shoulders. "You got ice in your veins," Zoe said, laughing. "Little killer." Kayla's heart soared. It wasn't just the win. It was the first time in her life someone had said that with admiration instead of mockery. The tournament continued through the weekend. They played 4 games, winning 3. Kayla averaged 12 points and 7 assists, even hitting a buzzer beater in their second match. After the final game, the team sat on the gym floor, sharing vending machine snacks and stretching sore muscles. Coach Lynn approached Kayla and handed her a Gatorade. "Nice work out there. You kept us moving." Kayla nodded, sipping carefully. "Next month's tournament is in Chicago," Lynn said. "Bigger stage, tougher teams. Scouts'll be there." Kayla's eyes widened. "College scouts? Yup. You ready for that?" Kayla looked around at her teammates. At the chipped walls of the gym. At the crooked scoreboard hanging above them. Then she looked back at her coach. "I will be." That night, on the drive back home, Kayla sat beside Zoe, staring out the window at the dark fields rolling past. Her body ached in places she didn't know existed. Her knees felt like jelly. But her heart was full. "Hey," Zoe said, elbowing her lightly. "You got game, Tran." Kayla smiled. She'd heard worse nicknames. The next morning, Kayla checked her email. There was one from an unfamiliar name, Coach Morris, Ohio Western College Women's Basketball. She clicked it open. "Saw you at the Springfield Showcase. Impressive poise and court vision. Would love to connect this summer. Keep grinding." Kayla froze. A college coach. Looking at her. She read it 3 times. Heart pounding. She didn't respond yet, not because she wasn't grateful, but because she wanted to earn it 10 times over. Chicago was louder, bigger, and colder than any place Kayla had ever played. The National Spring Invitational was held inside a massive indoor sports complex just outside the city. It had 12 courts, all running games simultaneously. The place pulsed with whistles, shouting coaches, and the rhythmic thump of basketballs echoing across every wall. The Liberty Hawks were one of the last teams to arrive. As they stepped through the front doors, Kayla was hit by the scale of it. Row after row of bleachers filled with parents, fans, and recruiters in branded windbreakers holding clipboards and phones. Coach Lynn handed each player a schedule. First game in 90 minutes. Court 6. Warm-up in 30. Locker rooms down the hall. Right side. Kayla followed the others in a daze. The noise and lights buzzing in her ears. It was surreal. Only a few months ago, she was being cut from her high school team. Now she was walking into one of the most competitive youth tournaments in the country. In the locker room, everyone laced up in silence. Even Zoe was unusually quiet, taping her fingers and popping her knuckles. "You okay?" Kayla asked. Zoe looked up, just focused. Kayla nodded. She understood. No nerves this time, just anticipation. She could feel the energy in her chest, humming like an engine waiting to roar. Their first opponent was the Wind City Angels, a team known for speed and full court pressure. The tip-off went to Liberty, and Kayla took control, directing the floor like a conductor with a baton. She moved like she'd been playing in Chicago her whole life, splitting traps, setting tempo, and calling out switches before they happened. 10 minutes in, Liberty led 22-15. Kayla hit a deep 3 to beat the shot clock and jogged back on defense, breathing hard but steady. And then she saw him. Across the gym, halfway up the bleachers, Coach Darren Whitaker. She froze for half a second, long enough for her player to get behind her. The ball passed over her shoulder. Layup. 22-17. Zoe ran up to her. "Yo, you good?" Kayla blinked. Yeah. She shook her head and tried to refocus. But it was like someone had dropped a cold stone in her stomach. What was he doing here? Of course, she knew. He wasn't here for her. Or maybe, he was. Was he scouting? Watching one of the other girls? Or just happened to catch her game by accident? She tried to put it out of her mind. But her rhythm faltered. Her next pass came a split second late. She missed a defensive rotation. And when she drove into the paint, she passed out of an open layup. Timeout. Coach Lin pulled her aside. What's going on out there? Kayla opened her mouth, but nothing came out. Lin's voice softened. Hey, breathe. Kayla took a deep breath. There's someone in the stands I didn't expect to see. Lin followed her gaze. Coach Whitaker was watching intently. Arms crossed, sunglasses hanging from his collar. Lin sighed. That's the man who cut you, right? Kayla nodded slowly. Okay, Lin said. So what? You're still letting him write your story? Kayla blinked. You already left that behind. Don't drag him into the present. She paused. Play for your team. Play for yourself. That's who you are now. Kayla nodded. The fog starting to lift. Coach Lin clapped her shoulder. Now go shut him up. Back on the court, Kayla felt like she'd snapped awake. She took control again, driving into the defense and finishing with a soft left-handed layup. On the next possession, she pulled up from mid-range and nailed the shot. The crowd stirred. The Liberty Hawks fed off her energy. Zoe blocked 2 shots in a row. Sasha hit a corner 3. Their lead stretched back to double digits. And Kayla? She didn't look back at the bleachers. Not once. Final score. Liberty 61, Wind City 52. After the game, the girls gathered their gear and headed to the hallway. Coach Lin handed out Gatorades and gave quick feedback. Kayla leaned against the wall. Catching her breath, she felt a presence beside her. Nice game, a deep voice said. She turned. Coach Whitaker. Same gray polo. Same clipboard. Same unreadable expression. Kayla stared at him, surprised by how small he looked outside of his home court. You've improved, he said. She raised an eyebrow. Thanks. You always had good instincts. I probably should have kept you last year. She didn't answer. He shifted his weight. Well, best of luck in the tournament. She nodded once. He turned and walked away. She didn't watch him go. Later that evening, Kayla sat on the hotel balcony with her headphones in, staring out at the Chicago skyline. Zoe walked out, sipping from a Coke can. Was that your coach? Kayla nodded. You okay? I think, yeah, I am. You didn't say much to him. Kayla smiled. Didn't need to. Zoe grinned and bumped her arm. Stone cold. By the second day of the Chicago tournament, the Liberty Hawks were no longer just another team on the bracket. They were the team to watch. And Kayla Tran was the name on everyone's lips. On the sidelines, a scout from Northern Illinois scribbled furiously every time Kayla touched the ball. A young assistant from a mid-major D1 school filmed her movements on a tablet. Parents murmured as she warmed up. That girl, number 11. The short one. She's got court vision like Steve Nash. Kayla didn't hear any of it. She was focused. Locked in. The night before, she'd watched game tape in her hotel room while her teammates played card games in the lobby. She dissected every possession, how the Blaze guards rotated, where the screens weren't held long enough. The moment she hesitated on a pass. Not anymore. By the time they stepped onto the court for their second game of the day, Kayla was ready. Their opponent was South Ridge Elite, a nationally ranked team known for aggressive play and full court pressure. They had a 6'2" forward already committed to a Big Ten school and a point guard named Jordan Lee, who was ranked top 5 in the Midwest. Before tip-off, Kayla noticed Jordan giving her a quick glance, smirking slightly. Cute shoes, Jordan said. Kayla didn't respond. She let her game speak. The moment the whistle blew, it was war. Kayla set the tone early, 2 crossovers, a hesitation dribble, and a bullet pass to Zoe for the opening layup. The crowd gasped. The next possession, she drilled a pull-up 3 in transition. 3-0. Jordan answered with a fast drive and finish of her own. It was personal now. The 2-point guards went at it all game, steal for steal, bucket for bucket, like 2 swords clashing under stadium lights. But while Jordan played like she had something to prove, Kayla played like she had nothing to lose. In the second half, the defense collapsed on her. She adjusted. No forced shots, just ball movement, patience, precision. By the final buzzer, Liberty had pulled the upset, 62-58. Kayla finished with 17 points, 9 assists, and 3 steals. Coach Lin wrapped her in a hug. That was a masterclass. The buzz started online that night. A Prep Sports page tweeted her stat line with the caption, Who is Kayla Tran? This Liberty Hawks PG just dropped a dime-filled upset over number 3 ranked South Ridge. Pure basketball IQ. Instagram clips circulated. One showed her no-look pass from earlier that day. Another captured her hesitation move followed by a floater that left 2 defenders frozen. People were noticing. Even people back home. On the bus ride back to the hotel, Kayla's phone lit up with notifications. A DM from a high school teammate who once ignored her in the locker room. Yo, that move on Jordan Lee was filthy, hands clapping fire. A message from a former Jefferson classmate. They really cut you? Wild. Even a vague text from Coach Whitaker. Good luck the rest of the tournament. Kayla stared at the screen, emotion stirring in her chest, but she didn't respond. Instead, she turned to Zoe. You see the reposts? Zoe grinned. Girl, you're trending. A couple scouts followed our team page just to tag you. Kayla bit her lip, unsure whether to feel excited or overwhelmed. You okay? Zoe asked. I think so. Just a lot. Zoe shrugged. That's what happens when you go from underdog to threat. The next morning, a college coach pulled Coach Lynn aside after warm-ups. It was Coach Darnell from Eastern Michigan University. He'd seen Kayla's last 2 games and was impressed, not just with the stat lines, but the poise. She plays like a junior. He said, I'd like to start a conversation soon. Coach Lynn nodded. I'll let her know. She approached Kayla after shoot-around. Emu wants to talk. Kayla blinked. Emu? As in scholarship offer. Eventually, Kayla's eyes widened. Are you serious? Dead serious. I told you this stage would come. Kayla suddenly felt her knees go weak, not from nerves, but from the weight of dreams suddenly becoming real. But with rising attention came rising pressure. In their next game, Liberty was matched against Steel Valley, a tall, physical team with a reputation for rough defense. Kayla was double-teamed early, shoved off screens, and bodied every time she drove. She missed 3 shots in a row. Coach Lynn called timeout. Kayla, she said calmly, they're trying to make you doubt your rhythm. Don't play their game, play yours. Kayla nodded. She drew in a deep breath and tuned everything out. The next possession, she drove hard left, stopped on a dime, faked, then bounced a perfect pass between 2 defenders to Sasha for a clean finish. She grinned. She had her rhythm back. Liberty won again. Back in the hotel room that night, Kayla lay in bed with her phone buzzing on the nightstand. More DMs, more messages, even an email from a sports blog requesting a short interview. She turned the screen over and stared at the ceiling. For the first time, it hit her. She wasn't invisible anymore. No longer the kid cut from varsity. No longer too small. She was a name. And with that name came expectation. Kayla Tran had always dreamed of being seen. Now that she was, it felt different than she imagined. The morning of the semifinals, she sat on the edge of her hotel bed, staring at her phone as notifications flooded in, interview requests, scout inquiries, and social media buzz. Her clip from the South Ridge game had hit nearly 20,000 views overnight. Even ESPN's high school account had reposted it with the caption, "The Liberty Hawks' Kayla Tran is the name to know out of Chicago this weekend." Her fingers trembled slightly as she set the phone down. You okay? Zoe asked from across the room, tying her sneakers. Yeah, just trying to stay level, Kayla said. Zoe tossed her a protein bar. Eat. You don't play well on an empty stomach. Kayla nodded and peeled it open, forcing herself to chew. She could feel it now, that invisible weight pressing down. It wasn't just a game anymore. People were watching her. Worse, they were expecting something. And the more they expected, the more she feared disappointing them. At the gym, the Liberty Hawks arrived early to stretch. Court 3 was freshly waxed, the backboards gleaming under bright overhead lights. Their opponent? A polished and deep team from St. Louis called Archway Elite, known for its suffocating defense and fast breaks. Coach Lynn circled them up. They're good, she said plainly. Disciplined. They'll test us. She looked at Kayla. They'll test you. Kayla met her eyes and gave a quick nod. We don't need flashy. We don't need perfect. Lynn continued. We need smart basketball. The kind you've been playing all season. Be who you are, not who people on Twitter think you are. Kayla smiled slightly. That helped. The first half of the game was brutal. Archway Elite came out swinging. They pressed full court, trapped hard, and clogged passing lanes. Kayla was smothered. Every move she made was matched by 2 defenders. She missed her first jumper. Then her second. Her third was a clean look, but it clanked off the rim. Archway capitalized. Transition layups. Offensive rebounds. Liberty trailed 18-7. Coach Lin called timeout. The huddle was tense. Players wiped sweat from their brows. Sasha stared at the scoreboard in disbelief. Kayla, Lin said quietly, kneeling beside her. You're overthinking. I can't get free. Kayla said, they know everything I do before I do it. They don't know your heart. Lin replied, they know your highlights, not your grit, so give them what they've never seen. Kayla swallowed hard and nodded. Back on the court, she changed her rhythm. Less flair, more substance. She stopped looking for the open play and started creating it. A quick give and go with Zoe. A bounce pass through a sliver of space. A sudden cut that caught the defense sleeping. The score started to climb. By halftime, Liberty had closed the gap, 27-25. In the second half, Kayla played like she had blinders on. She didn't think about the scouts in the stands, or the girl live streaming her every move on Instagram. She played as if the court was her driveway and every point was a promise she'd made to herself. A promise not to disappear again. With 3 minutes left, Liberty led 49-44. Then, it happened. Kayla drove hard, planted, and felt something tighten in her ankle. Not a full sprain, just a sharp twist. She limped slightly on the way back. Coach Lin noticed and called her over. You good? Kayla winced. I can finish. You sure? Kayla nodded. I need to. Lin gave a firm nod. Wrap it. Ice after. Back on the floor, Kayla ran slower, but smarter. She controlled the pace, used clock, drew defenders just enough to free her teammates. Final buzzer. Liberty 56, Archway 51. They were going to the finals. Back in the locker room, the team erupted in celebration. Water bottles were sprayed, towels whipped in the air, and Zoe let out a roar that echoed through the hallway. But Kayla sat quietly on the bench, untying her shoe and icing her ankle. Coach Lin sat beside her. You didn't score much, Lin said. Kayla nodded. 3 points. But you had 11 assists. 5 steals. No turnovers. That's leadership. Kayla looked down. It felt like I disappeared. No, Lin said. You made everyone else shine. That's a point guard's job. Kayla finally smiled. Thanks, Coach. Lin leaned back. By the way, we know who we're facing tomorrow. Kayla looked up. Lin raised an eyebrow. Jefferson High. For a moment, Kayla didn't breathe. Then, of course we are. That night, back at the hotel, Kayla sat by the window staring out at the dark skyline. The city lights twinkled like stars pulled down to earth. Her phone vibrated. A message from an unknown number. Saw your game today. You've changed. Respect. Whitaker. She stared at it, deleted it, then powered off her phone and returned to her thoughts. Tomorrow, she'd face the team that once said she wasn't good enough. The coach who didn't believe in her. And the teammates who never passed her the ball. She had one shot, and she was ready to take it. Kayla Tran had imagined this moment 100 times. But now that it was real, the Jefferson High logo painted boldly at center court. The familiar navy blue jerseys warming up across from her. And Coach Darren Whitaker pacing the sideline with his usual stone face. It didn't feel like revenge. It felt like reckoning. Liberty's bench was unusually quiet. The tension was heavy, stretching across the court like invisible wires. The crowd was large, louder than anything they'd played in front of so far. Even the announcers buzzed with anticipation. This is it, folks, one said into his mic. The Liberty Lady Hawks, the Cinderella story of this tournament. Up against perennial powerhouse Jefferson High. Kayla bounced the ball in rhythm. Her ankle was still sore, taped tightly under her sock. But she didn't feel it. What she felt was something deeper. A silent fire. Jefferson's players ran sharp drills on their half of the court. Confident and robotic. Brianna, Jefferson's star guard, was back for her senior year and leading the team's huddle. She hadn't spoken to Kayla since tryouts the previous fall. As the referees summoned captains for the coin toss, Brianna and Kayla stepped forward. Didn't think you'd make it this far, Brianna said under her breath. Kayla didn't flinch. Didn't think you'd be standing in my way again. The ref flipped the coin. Liberty ball. Tip off. The game started fast. Jefferson opened with a hard press, trapping Kayla in the backcourt. but she split it with a behind-the-back dribble, finding Zoe on the wing for the first score of the game. 2-0. Jefferson answered with a quick bucket of their own. 2-2. Each team traded blows for the first quarter. Brianna hit 2 long threes. Kayla found Sasha on a backdoor cut. Zoe blocked a shot that sent the ball flying into the third row of bleachers. But Jefferson wasn't just playing basketball, they were playing psychological games. Kayla felt it in every bump, every shove, every sneer. "You still too small for varsity," one defender muttered after an off-balance miss. Kayla didn't respond, but her jaw clenched a little tighter. By halftime, the score was tied 29-29. In the locker room, Liberty sat drenched in sweat and silence. Coach Lynn stood at the whiteboard, wiping it clean slowly. "You've played smart," she said, "but they're not just trying to beat you on the scoreboard. They're trying to make you question yourselves." She looked around the room. "They play with pride," she said. "We play with purpose. Don't confuse the two." Then her eyes landed on Kayla. "You ready for the second half?" Kayla didn't hesitate. More than ever. The third quarter began with a bang. Jefferson came out hot, going on a 7-0 run that put Liberty on their heels. The pressure mounted. Their bench erupted with every point, every stop. Kayla felt the old voices creeping in. "You're not strong enough. You don't belong here." Then came a possession where she was trapped by 2 defenders mid-court. Nowhere to pass. Coach Whitaker barked instructions. The crowd roared. And for a second, Kayla froze. A flash of last year, standing alone outside the gym, reading the varsity cut list. Her name missing, her future erased. But then, she saw Zoe flash to the wing, and something snapped back into place. Kayla fired a no-look pass around the double team. Zoe caught it in stride and finished strong. The gym exploded, and Kayla smiled. The ghosts were still here. But she wasn't afraid of them anymore. Liberty clawed back point by point. Sasha hit a jumper from the corner. Kayla swiped a steal at midcourt. Zoe battled inside for rebounds like her life depended on it. With 2 minutes left, the game was tied again. Kayla stood at the top of the key, dribbling calmly. The shot clock ticked. She locked eyes with Brianna, who now guarded her closely. "Don't choke," Brianna whispered. Kayla smirked. "You mean like you did at state last year?" A flicker of emotion crossed Brianna's face. And that was all Kayla needed. She jabbed right, crossed left, stepped back, and hit a fadeaway jumper. Swish. The crowd rose to their feet. Jefferson called timeout. Kayla jogged to the bench, chest heaving, but eyes focused. Coach Lynn handed out instructions. "Final minute. Stay disciplined. Don't gamble." The buzzer sounded. Play resumed. Jefferson scored a quick layup. Tie game. 30 seconds. Kayla had the ball. She glanced at the clock. 1 possession. 1 shot. She signaled a play. Zoe set a screen. Kayla dribbled around it, faked the drive, then stepped back again. Brianna bit. Kayla pulled up. The ball soared through the air, the whole arena holding its breath. Clang. It bounced off the front rim. Brianna grabbed the rebound. Jefferson sprinted upcourt. 5 seconds left. Their guard launched a 3. Missed. Zoe caught the rebound. Timeout. Liberty. 1 last play. 4 seconds on the clock. Coach Lynn drew it on the clipboard. "Kayla, you inbound. Get it back. Clear space. It's yours." Kayla nodded. The whistle blew. She passed to Sasha, then sprinted around a screen. Got the ball back. 1 dribble. She rose. The buzzer screamed. The ball arced. Swish. Silence. Then, roars. Screams. Chaos. Her teammates swarmed her. People jumped in the stands. Zoe lifted Kayla off the ground as she laughed and cried all at once. Across the court, Coach Whitaker stood frozen. He didn't dare meet her eyes. The national championship was over. But the buzz had only just begun. Kayla Tran stepped off the plane and into the warm spring air of Ohio, still wearing her Liberty Hawks hoodie and championship medal around her neck. Her phone hadn't stopped vibrating for 2 days, interviews, texts from classmates she hadn't spoken to in years, and college scouts trying to schedule calls with her coach. At baggage claim, her mother stood waiting with a bouquet of white lilies and a tearful smile. Lynn Tran wasn't the type to cry easily. But today her eyes glistened as she pulled Kayla into a hug. "You did it," she whispered in Vietnamese. Kayla hugged her tighter. We did. Outside, camera crews waited at the curb. Someone from a local sports blog had tipped them off. The Liberty van was surrounded the moment it pulled into the parking lot. Microphones thrust toward windows. Photographers firing off shots before Kayla even opened the door. Coach Lynn shielded her as they moved through the crowd. Kayla, how does it feel to win nationals after being cut from your high school team? Do you have a message for Coach Whitaker? Have any colleges offered you a full ride yet? Kayla blinked at the lights and noise. She dreamed of attention like this, but not all at once. And not this loud. Coach Lynn leaned close. Keep walking. Smile. Say thank you. Nothing more. Kayla nodded. When they reached the van, she turned and gave a short answer. We worked hard. We believed in each other. That's all. The reporters jotted it down like scripture. The next week was a blur. She was featured in 3 local newspapers. A regional sports magazine put her on the cover with the headline, "From Benchwarmer to Champion, The Rise of Kayla Tran." Eastern Michigan University officially offered her a full scholarship. Then came 2 more, from University of Dayton and Cleveland State. All 3 coaches called Coach Lynn within 72 hours of the championship game. Kayla sat in her bedroom reading each email. Heart-pounding. But she didn't respond immediately. Instead, she went downstairs and sat across from her mom at the kitchen table, where a pot of tea steamed gently between them. They're offering me everything now, Kayla said softly. Tuition, a place on the team, a future. Lynn smiled. You earned it. I know, Kayla said, but part of me wonders, why now? Why not before? Her mother's eyes were wise. Steady, because people often look after the fire's already been lit. But you were the one who struck the match. One afternoon, she walked back into Jefferson High for the first time since the tournament. Not as a benchwarmer, not as a cut player, but as a national champion. The hallway chatter died as she passed. Some students nodded, others whispered, a few simply stared. Her old PE teacher waved and gave a thumbs up. Saw you on TV. Tran, you were phenomenal. She smiled politely and kept walking. But the most surreal moment came when she passed Coach Whitaker's office. He stood in the doorway, arms crossed. For a brief moment, they locked eyes. He gave a nod. You played well. Kayla met his gaze without flinching. I always could. He hesitated, then stepped aside to let her pass. That was all she needed. No apology. No excuses. Just acknowledgement. And silence. Back at practice with the Liberty Hawks, Coach Lynn called for a team meeting. They circled up on the court. Still sore. Still a little stunned by what they had accomplished. Next season's going to be different, Coach said. You all aren't unknowns anymore. They'll come at you harder. Expect it. Then she looked at Kayla. You especially. You've got eyes on you now. College, media, fans. But remember this. None of it matters if you forget why you play. Kayla nodded, the words sinking in. You didn't get here to prove people wrong. Lynn continued. You got here by being who you are. Stay grounded. Stay hungry. The girls clapped. The mood lifted. Practice resumed. And Kayla felt like herself again, feet pounding on hardwood. Sweat flying. Heart light. Not a product. Not a headline. Just a player. One night, she sat in her room replaying the final 4 seconds of the championship on her phone. She knew it by heart now, the way her fingers gripped the ball. The sound of the buzzer. The perfect arc of the shot. But this time, she watched something new. The bench reaction. Her teammates leaping to their feet. The way Coach Lynn didn't celebrate immediately, just watched the ball leave Kayla's hands and nodded. Like she knew all along. That's what stuck with her. Not the points. Not the highlight reels. But the people who believed. Kayla stood at the edge of Court 4 inside a state-of-the-art training facility in Indianapolis. Surrounded by 60 of the top-ranked high school basketball players in the country. Everyone had perfect gear, fresh Nikes, matching duffels, sponsor logos stitched into their shirts. Some were already committed to D1 schools. A few had thousands of followers on social media. One girl even had her own video editor following her around with a camera on a stabilizer. Kayla's gray Liberty Hawks hoodie felt like camouflage. This wasn't a team environment. This was a showcase. Every girl here was fighting to be seen. The director of the camp, a former WNBA player named Tamika Royce, blew her whistle. Break into 5 groups. Coaches are watching every rep. Hustle matters. Kayla joined the nearest group. No one said hi. They were focused, serious. Drills began, speed ladders, cone work, shooting under pressure. The intensity was unlike anything she'd experienced. Even Zoe's fierce practices back home felt casual compared to this. At first, Kayla kept up. Her passes were sharp, her footwork crisp. But the girls around her were faster, stronger, louder. She missed 2 layups in a row. A coach called it out. "Number 11, you need to finish through contact." She nodded, cheeks burning. The next drill started. She stumbled through the cones. Her timing was off. "Get it together," she told herself. But her body wasn't responding. Later, during scrimmage, she got matched up against Amani Waters, a 5 feet 10 inches guard from Texas with D1 offers from half the SEC. Amani immediately pressured her full court. Kayla dribbled behind her back, tried to split the trap, but the help defense came fast. Turnover. 2 possessions later, she hesitated on a pull-up jumper and passed out of it. A coach blew the whistle. "Number 11, take the shot. Trust yourself." Kayla glanced at the sideline. Coach Whitaker wasn't there. Neither was Coach Lynn, but their voices echoed in her head anyway. "You're not varsity material. You didn't get here to prove anyone wrong." But right now, it didn't feel like she belonged here at all. At lunch, she sat alone at a table in the corner of the gym cafe, poking at a bowl of rice and grilled chicken. Around her, the other girls laughed and compared Instagram followers, AAU stats, and offers. Kayla stayed silent. She checked her phone. 2 new emails, one from an Ivy League program, another from a D2 school in California. She didn't even open them. Instead, she stared at her reflection in the dark screen. She looked tired. That night, she called her mom from the hotel bathroom. Lynn's voice came through soft and steady. "Are you okay?" she asked. Kayla hesitated. "I don't know. You sound far away. I feel like I'm drowning." "Mom." There was a pause on the line. "You're not drowning," Lynn said gently. "You're just swimming in a deeper pool now." Kayla let out a shaky breath. "What if I'm not ready for this?" Lynn's voice didn't change. "Then you work, you learn, and you remember. The pressure means the world finally sees you." The next morning, Kayla woke up before her alarm. She sat on the edge of the bed for a full minute, staring at her shoes. Then, slowly, she pulled them on. Practice started with shooting drills. The coaches didn't talk much. The players were expected to push themselves. Kayla decided not to try to impress anyone. She just played her game. Midway through the scrimmage, she called a screen, shifted directions, and hit a floater over 2 defenders. Next play, she read a cut before it happened and intercepted the pass clean. A coach made a note on his clipboard. Another nodded. By the final scrimmage, Amani Waters jogged by and tapped her shoulder. "You've got court vision, Tran." Kayla raised an eyebrow. "Didn't think you noticed." Amani smirked. "I always notice the quiet ones. They're usually the killers." Kayla smiled for the first time all week. After camp ended, Tamika Royce pulled her aside. "You started rough," she said, "but your floor IQ is elite. You play chess while everyone else plays checkers. Don't lose that." "Thank you," Kayla said, stunned. "Also," Tamika added, "open your emails. Coaches don't wait forever." Kayla laughed and nodded. "I'll remember." That night, Kayla opened her laptop and finally read the unread emails. She replied to both. She still didn't know exactly where she wanted to go, or who she wanted to play for. But she knew one thing. She wasn't afraid anymore. Back home, Liberty's summer workouts resumed. Kayla stepped into the gym feeling different. Not better than the others, but not smaller anymore. Zoe greeted her with a chest bump. "Back from hoop heaven?" "More like hoop hell." Kayla grinned. Coach Lynn clapped her hands. "Let's get to work. Just because you're getting attention doesn't mean you're done growing." Kayla nodded. "That's why I'm here." The Jefferson High Gymnasium hadn't changed. Same polished maple floor, same worn blue bleachers, same championship banners hanging above the court, a reminder of the school's former glory. Kayla Tran stood just beyond the baseline, her footsteps echoing softly across the quiet space. It was surreal. Last year, she'd stood here and watched other girls get picked. Now, she was the one they were here to see. Outside, students filed in for the all-school assembly. A few glanced through the glass doors, pointing and whispering when they saw her. Teachers nodded in recognition. A local news crew hovered near the back row, prepping their equipment. Kayla adjusted the collar of her blouse. No jersey today. No sneakers. Today, she was here not as a player, but as a guest speaker. 2 weeks earlier, the principal had called. Kayla, we're organizing an end-of-year inspiration assembly. After your national championship, the whole school's talking. Would you be willing to speak? Just a few minutes. She'd hesitated, returning to the gym where she was once told she wasn't good enough. But in the silence that followed, Kayla realized the hesitation wasn't fear. It was choice. She could say no, but she was ready to say yes. Yes, I'll come, she had said, but only if I can be honest. The gym filled quickly. More than 600 students. Dozens of faculty. The Liberty Hawks were seated in the front row, invited by special request. Zoe caught Kayla's eye and gave her a thumbs up. Sasha grinned beside her. Coach Lynn, sitting quietly off to the side, nodded once, calm, proud, steady as always. The principal took the mic. Today we welcome back a former student who showed us all what resilience, hard work, and belief can lead to. Please give it up for national champion and Liberty Hawks point guard, Kayla Tran. Applause erupted. Kayla walked to center court. The noise was overwhelming for a moment. Clapping. Whoops. Camera shutters. She closed her eyes briefly, grounded herself in the feel of the hardwood beneath her feet. Then she looked out at the sea of students and began. I used to sit where you're sitting, she said, her voice clear and calm. In these bleachers, watching other students get awards, recognition, applause. I tried out for Jefferson's varsity team last year. She continued. Most of you probably know I didn't make it. A few heads nodded. Some whispers rippled through the crowd. I wasn't told I needed to work on something specific. I was just told I wasn't varsity material. She let the sentence hang in the air. I cried in the car. I thought maybe that was it. The end of basketball for me. She scanned the crowd. But then someone else gave me a chance. Not because I was tall, or loud, or impressive on paper, but because I showed up, worked hard, and kept showing up. She pointed to her Liberty teammates. That team changed my life. Because we played with heart. And no one could measure that with a clipboard. She paused. I'm not here today to shame anyone. I'm here to say that sometimes, what feels like rejection is just redirection. Silence filled the gym. Then Kayla smiled. And if you've ever been told you're not enough, not fast enough, not strong enough, not American enough, not anything enough, I'm standing here to tell you, that's a lie. She stepped back from the mic. The room exploded. Applause. Cheers. Some students even rising to their feet. Afterward, students lined up to shake her hand, ask for photos, or just say thank you. A teacher whispered, I wish my daughter could have heard that. A freshman with braces said, I got cut too, but maybe next year. And then she saw him. Coach Darren Whitaker, standing near the doors, arms folded. She walked toward him. The crowd parted. Kayla, he said, his voice softer than she remembered. Coach, she replied evenly. He paused. I didn't see what I should have. That's on me. She didn't speak, just waited. I'm glad you found a place that saw you. You deserved it. A beat of silence passed. Then she nodded. Thank you. It wasn't forgiveness, but it was closure. She turned and walked back toward her team. Later, in the parking lot, Zoe slung her bag over her shoulder. I gotta say, you handled that like a total pro. Kayla chuckled. I didn't even trip over my words. You were honest. Sasha added. That's what hit hardest. Coach Lynn unlocked the van. Ready to go home, champ? Kayla looked up at the sky. The sun was setting, casting a golden glow over the building's brick walls. I think I already am. That night, Kayla sat on her bed, a notebook in her lap. She opened it to a blank page and wrote. Day 1. College decision. 3 schools had made final offers. She would need to choose soon. But for now, she closed the notebook and smiled. Because for the first time, she wasn't chasing someone else's approval. She was choosing her own path.